Welcome to Chez, Genèse, the place of new beginnings. My name is Catherine Hubert, and I founded and own a French-inspired cafe where, as a team, we are on a mission to change the way our world views and employs adults with disabilities. Our restaurant was born and is based in Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's where we practice and teach our mission and model. This is our channel where we dive in deep to who we are, what we do, and why we do it. Our hope is that this content is empowering to disabled and non-disabled humans alike, and that no matter what perspective you are coming from, whether that's employer, employee, parent, friend, or Chez Genèse fan, you feel welcomed, you learn something new, and you walk away with a deeper appreciation and understanding of humanity.
Hi everybody, welcome back. I am in my kitchen getup today because we have an event here tonight that I am the chef for, so I'm getting ready actually to jump back into the kitchen to get ready for that after I finish talking to you. I also am at the tail end of a cold this week, so I still am maybe a bit stuffy sounding, so apologies for that in advance. Today we are continuing our conversation and our celebration around National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We kind of kicked off the month with just a general introduction to disability employment. Last week we talked about why disability employment is so important, and then this week we're talking about who benefits from disability employment. So, as with all of our content in videos, we are scratching the surface of these topics. This is not the fullness of the information that you could receive, but hopefully is some information that either you haven't heard before, or hopefully it sinks in a different way when you get to view it here on our channel, and that it increases your learning and your curiosity. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time around 3 areas within the disability ecosystem that benefit from disability employment. The first one, which is probably the most obvious one and the one that we're actually going to spend the least amount of time on, is a disabled employee. This is obviously a person with a disability is going to benefit from being employed and from pushing for equality within disability employment, for that access and that equity that we've been talking about this month. The reason we're not going to spend a lot of time on that is not because it's not important, but because typically I see this area focused on the most within disability employment and marketing and businesses that do employ people with disabilities. There can be a lot of focus that's put on how it benefits the disabled employee. And I just want to raise a little bit of awareness around that, so that as you are becoming more attuned or looking out for disability equity when that comes to the workplace, when you're paying more attention maybe to how disability is portrayed in movies or on social media, in different marketing strategies and tactics, that you're just sensitive to the fact that a lot of times disability employment can be projected with this very altruistic lens, and there's the kind of benevolent business owner who's non-disabled, who's employing disabled employees, and the joy or the happiness or the success of the disabled employees is kind of leveraged for inspiration or this feel-good message. And so I would just challenge us to examine that, to look at that, to start noticing it. How does that make us feel? Where do we feel like that might be problematic? Where could a more holistic view of disability employment come into play, and to go from there. So, yes, disability employment benefits someone with a disability who has been hired. How we talk about that, how we address it, the kind of focus and spotlight that's given to that employee is important in terms of how disability is really viewed and portrayed, and so I want us to pay attention to that. That being said, I will say this is an area that I've been learning in over the years. There are news articles and things that have been published about us, especially in the early days of us opening, that I would totally go back and change now or choose not to do because of some of those reasons. So it's a conversation that we continue to have with our team and that we continue to have with our community and our guests. I've become a lot more strict about the publications that I'm willing to participate in, the kind of content that other people can post about us, so that the messaging and the mission of what we're doing stays intact. Number 2, disability employment benefits the business. And this is a big one. And this is something that is important and kind of ties in with that theme of the first point, that yes, disability employment benefits an employee with a disability. However, it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and that part oftentimes gets missed. And so that's where it's not just this benevolent employee who's hired someone with a disability. Good for them, they're doing a good thing. That's kind of the messaging. I know we've received compliments like that. I've received compliments like that. I've seen that messaging in other businesses and structures. We want to move away from that and really communicate that as a business, I benefit greatly from the team that I have. Over half of my team has a disability, and if all of my disabled employees walked out the door tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to operate. I'm very dependent on the team that I have. My business needs them in order to be successful. So yes, I hope that my staff benefit from working here and that's a good fit. They're getting what they need through their employment, and I as a business owner also benefit from my team that I have and from the work that they provide me with. So it's important to recognize both sides of the operation, and also to point out that there are a lot, we talked about this in the last video, the unemployment rate among adults with disabilities is still really high. So there's a large hiring pool there that's available and that's not really being adequately accessed. And there's a lot of businesses, and especially in our industry, in hospitality, in the restaurant industry, that have really struggled to maintain or to keep the staff that they need post-pandemic. And so this is a way, there's a pool of applicants that would or could be a great fit that are not being accessed, that could directly benefit a business, especially as hiring has become harder and harder over the years. And number 3, disability employment benefits our communities. Benefits in a lot of different ways, but the one that I want to touch on today is specifically shifting stereotypes and stigmas around disability simply through exposure. We benefit from being in a world and in environments where we're working and living with people who have different life experiences, who have different perspectives, who are coming from different places, who have different skill sets. Like, the variety and the diversity in that is so helpful in so many different ways. And the sheer nearness and proximity of being around people who do have a variety of skills, interests, perspectives, experiences, etc., helps us to broaden, shift, shape our own. And with that, I want to clarify, it is not the job or the responsibility of someone with a disability to teach non-disabled humans about what it's like to have a disability, what their life experience is like, etc. So I'm not suggesting that. I want you to hear me on that. I'm not saying, if you bring on people into your work environment that have disabilities, then you can learn all about disabilities. Like, you will learn some just by being in proximity and by paying attention, but I encourage you to do your own research, to be aware, to be sensitive, to be empathetic, to be in tune, all of those things, as you would with all humans, or at least that's the hope and that's the goal. But there's a lot of ways that my understanding of the world, that my problem solving, that my perspective, my empathy, all of these things have changed in me over time because of working in an environment where I get to see just a lot of different perspectives played out, being offered. It's helpful in terms of stretching and broadening my own sense of humanity, and also just what's possible, knowing that there's a lot of different ways that you can meet the same goal, working through accommodations, adaptations, that has really just helped our whole team, I think, to be creative and to see that there's not necessarily one right way to do something, that there are a lot of different ways that you can work towards a goal together. You get to see how the intelligence and the awareness of others can impact a whole group. So there's benefit to a community. There's benefit to our guests who come in, who get to experience disability in a way that they maybe haven't before, to strip away some of the fear or intimidation that can come from just not knowing about something or not having any personal experience or ties to something. So that's more of what I mean by a community benefits as a whole, and has the ability, I think, to change and to restructure and to see the world differently when they're exposed to people and to scenarios and to experiences that are outside of the ones that are they've maybe grown up with. And that can be really helpful in breaking down bias and stereotypes and stigma. There's a lot of nuance, and there's a lot that we can go into in terms of how to do that in a way that's safe and that's kind and compassionate to the people within your community and in your environment. And I'm sure we'll dig into that more in future videos. So I do want to add that to the end, that it's important to keep all of those things in mind. And there's a lot of different practical ways to create a safe space and environment. But if that environment is present, then I can see a lot of transformation and possibility for barriers to be broken down. Okay, that's kind of an abrupt ending, but my brain is out of information for today, so we're going to stop it there. As always, thoughts, questions, please drop them below. We're honored that you spend time with us each week. It's been fun to see this little community grow. If you regularly watch our content and would like to be part of that growth, please subscribe. That does help get our videos in front of more eyeballs. It helps us to eventually get paid for the content that we're creating. So if you find it beneficial or useful, I know a lot of people on YouTube are always like, subscribe, and it's like a broken record, and it's really annoying, and I've always found it super annoying, and so I don't want to be that obnoxious person. And also, I think it's important to explain the process of why that's actually important. It helps the content spread, and it helps us get paid for it. So that's it. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next week. I'm gonna go make some, I think ratatouille's on the menu for tonight. Beef burgundy. We've got a dinner party, so gotta go get ready.